Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Coolest Podcast, the podcast of Coolest.Marketing platform, the gateway to Startup Nation's marketing experts in the AI era. And today I'm extremely excited with a special guest. We have here Michael. How are you? And we're going to talk about AI and the future of AI and a lot of things that makes me scared and really looking forward. So before we start, please introduce yourself and we'll dive in.
Okay, I'm Michael Misha. It depends on what language you prefer. By the way, I was surprised that in English. No problem.
This is Coolest.Marketing.
This is Coolest.Marketing.
The Startup Nation, but we're going abroad to everyone.
So I've been dealing with AI, I think more or less for 20 years, much before then people started calling it AI. They called it algorithms, math, etc. I think neural network. I implemented my first neural network in the 90s, like undergraduate course in Technion. By the way, if you really want to ask when AI started, I think formally people say that the birth of AI is 1942, when English cracked the code of Enigma. There is a nice movie, Beautiful Mind, I think, that's talking about this. So this is officially the birth of AI, and of course, today everyone knows what AI is. My mom, my dad, they know what ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, but the foundations of AI were led more than, say, around 80 years ago. And but by the way, let's say, because I've been dealing with this area for quite a long time, I'm a little bit skeptical. I know, I'm sure that AI will get where people think it will get, but it will take more time than... I don't expect revolutions in the next couple of months.
Okay. We'll get there. So it's interesting. You said that the birth of AI was 1942.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a good place to start. How come that you call that AI, and what is AI in the shortest definition, and then we'll go step by step how we got to this point.
It's difficult to define AI. You can define it as the opposite of natural stupidity, like artificial intelligence. And we are people, we are naturally stupid, and AI is supposed to be... I don't think there is a good definition of AI, but let's say it's the ability of a mechanism, computer, whatever, not a human being to perform actions.
All right. So, you mentioned it started with actually in the military, right? In a war situation.
Yeah, like almost every technology, it's either connected to military or to sex or to both of them.
All right.
Yeah, so it's...
and that's interesting because we're going to talk about both of those subjects related to AI. So let me just put it out there. Are you optimistic or are you afraid of the future? We can talk later if it's a week from today or 10 years or 20 years, but when you look at where we headed with the knowledge that you have, 20 years in AI, you worked in Playtica, in startups, in so many different aspects, and we're going to talk about business and AI, but let's just dive into that. Are you optimistic or afraid of the future of AI?
The short answer is I'm optimistic.
All right.
This is the short answer. Yeah.
All right. Now the longer one.
No, the long answer, it depends if I'm optimistic about myself, my closest ones, about human population the next year, next 10 years, and optimistic about the long term. So I do think there'll be a lot of fluctuations in the next 5, 10, 20 years. I don't think anyone knows exactly when this saturation point will happen. But if eventually, I am optimistic. I read a book. I'll try to remember the name of the book. It takes all the scenarios about AI from the best ones to the worst ones and just goes through them and tries to estimate the possibility and the chance that any of them will happen.
And is there one specific that you think is more likely?
The most pessimistic, desperate scenario, it's not a Terminator movie. It's not that machines will
take over
us and revolve against us, but it's more about humans taking control of some AI technology and using this technology to conquer the rest of the human population. The scenarios that most people are afraid of, like AI will take our jobs, that's the lowest possibilities.
So you think that in the future we're still gonna have jobs? Most of us, most of humanity would have jobs.
The jobs will change, but yeah, I think we will get paid for doing something.
All right.
It depends how we define a job.
All right. So let's go back to the present, and forgive me, but we're gonna continue go to the past.
Jump
in time. So today, as you have worked with so many different companies and startups, when you look at the different mentality and way of workflow using AI in business, can you pick one or two main trends or points of view that people out there should consider and think about as you see AI starting to get in not only copywriting and images with 6 fingers? There's more and more use in critical decision making in business. Where do you see it most?
So we are making a practical switch to a practical topic. I think that practically the biggest impact of AI now is that it allows anyone, regardless of your education and speciality, to do jobs of a lot of different people. I think that the biggest impact is in what in the startup industry we call MVP, POV, POC, minimum valuable product, of proof of concept, proof of value. It means that you as Elad, without knowledge of computing, you are with AI tools, you can today make almost any. You can make your website. You can make a system that, including design, including backend, frontend, and deployed system in cloud. You can do it yourself in a couple of weeks, even not in full time, and it will work well enough to present to other people what what your idea is, and maybe to raise money or to bring initial clients.
All right.
So before you had to raise some money and hire programmers and spend a couple of months on building the website, today, and I saw it in different places. That's one person without hands-on experience in programming can start building.
So you're pointing out to the solo entrepreneur that might be a new kind of it. The builder that uses AI, if he knows a bit of creative, he can use AI to build. If he knows a bit whatever content or what, he can manage with no other teammates until he gets like the first funding or stuff like that.
Yeah, it can be solo entrepreneurs. You said to build something before you raise funds, so it can be what you call the entrepreneurs and companies. There are some So if you want to,
there's always a new,
even if you're in a big corporation and you want to impress your managers, you can create a product yourself during weekends.
Do we see in companies like new departments of that solo entrepreneur attitude inside companies in order to test new products and stuff like that?
I wouldn't call it departments. It's going to be 1, 2, 3 person, like an innovation team, and they do try it. But companies as companies, no, the decision making takes a lot of time until to change the decision making process at a company. If it's not a big company, you need a couple of months, if not years, and you need the willingness of the CEO to change how the company works. And usually it takes time, because if the company works, if it ain't broken, don't fix it, right? That's the saying. So,
all right. So most of our audience are marketeers and entrepreneurs. It could be managers, and it could be like professionals in performance, content, UI, UX, social, etc. And as a CMO, I see a lot of marketing experts using AI, but again, only in copywriting and creative in general, and maybe, research and stuff like that. And I wonder, what would be your suggestion, your tip for people in marketing? How can they, without now getting into a very, very big expenses and stuff like that, with the tools that already exist, how can we use AI in order to have good decisions in performance? Our campaigns that we've maybe for years having the same clients, or SEO and etc. What would be like tomorrow all of us need to do and explode the already existing tools we have?
I think the easiest thing that any marketing manager can do to improve him or herself is to convert from their decisions from intuition-based to database. And this is where AI today can really help. There are different AI tools. Let's take Perplexity. In a couple of prompts, and really in a couple of minutes, or maybe in half an hour, you can get from Perplexity not only the data you need to make the decisions. You can ask Perplexity to explain you what sources you need to make the decisions. You can weight the sources differently. You can ask trusted sources, less trusted sources. Like, maybe there is some new newspaper like New York Times they consider to be well trusted source. And maybe there is some small website that no one knows, but you can get all the sources. You can bring the information, and then you can use the same Perplexity or any other AI tool to make decisions about your audience and how audience use different things. You can get measurements. This is where AI steps in and helps you as a marketing manager. We can go to specific examples if you want.
So I want, but what about taking, all the data we already have from past campaigns and stuff like that? What would be, and this is like a practical question now, what would be the best way to use, years of campaigns we have about a client before we launch another campaign and make it like a smart decision?
By the way, another practical advice, I've been working recently with Notion. I started using Notion a couple of years ago, but I think that you know what I'm talking about? Notion,
yeah?
It's a note-taking tool, but it's much more than a note-taking tool. They have a built-in agent, and the agent is using Claude, I think, under the hood. And when all your information is in Notion, you can ask the engine. I'll give an example. Like I'm working now on something very interesting. It's still the startup that's under the radar. I don't want to give you a lot of details, but the CEO of the startups last week they had a management session, a management week, and collected a lot of information, decisions, planned the next year. When I asked this guy what was the week about, he said, "Don't ask me. because now my memory is limited and don't remember everything, go to Notion and start talking to Notion. With Notion, you can transcribe all the conversations, all the meetings are stored, transcripted, saved in Notion. And then I went to Notion, I started asking Notion what happened, what they talk about, what are the plans for the next quarter, next 6 months. Amazing, really amazing. And to your question, if you have, say, your conversations with your customers, just throw your conversations, Notion or any other tool, and start asking questions. I cannot give you one fits all recipe to create your marketing campaign, but when your information is one place, you can start asking questions. You can ask the same engine, what questions should I ask in order to make decisions about the next campaign?
All right. So in a sense, and I would like us later on, maybe in a separate content, to dive into Notion and other platforms that you recommend and have, practical tips. But I'm taking us again to the future. So in a sense, Notion, would you say, and it, could be any other platform that helping you in decision making and is aware to the entire conversation inside the company, would we have AI CEOs soon?
I don't believe so, because to make a decision, it's not only the information. When you make a decision, I think it's your intuition steps in. When I say intuition, it's not a mystical term. Maybe your connections, small bits of knowledge that you collected during your career. And when you look at good CEOs, they can make decisions not only based on the data, but they take all the experience and bring it into making decisions.
Okay, so what if 100 CEOs, the top CEOs, would start recording day and night their thoughts about everything, and wouldn't we have 10 years later the best AI CEO to have the best decisions out there?
If I look really into the future, 10, 20, 30 years, probably. If today the bottleneck is becoming not the AI, the decision making. It's also the information, how fast you can get information, what information you can get, and it's not only like in regular marketing, in other areas like medicine. The bottleneck is not the ability of a doctor to make a decision, but the information the doctor has about you. If you did all the scans, CT, MRI,
Can we agree that doctors are going to be AI?
Yeah, I think most of them...
Probably whatever our mothers wanted us to be, lawyers, accountant, doctors, most of the jobs that require being aware to a lot of data and rules and information and stuff like that, and decision making based on that.
Yeah, I think yes, and even today we see it with doctors. There are doctors who use ChatGPT, and there are systems and startups trying to, let's say that they're not replacing doctor because it's a human. You always want to talk to a human, but if before a doctor needed maybe half an hour to look through your data, through your reports, today the doctor gets short summary of ChatGPT. This is Elad's data, your blood test, etc. This is my recommendation. You can agree, you can maybe you don't agree, but it takes you much less time to make a decision about a single patient.
All right. So jumping again, and just to be not too techy, but it seems that the AI, as any revolution, has different steps. And like 10 years ago, it was mainly, even 5 years ago, mainly observing more and more data in order to train models. Where are we today? what is the biggest trend or the development in AI, and what do you expect it to be in the next few years?
I look at it as, let's see, several years ago, there were models that could predict next word. They could look at a sentence or a paragraph and analyze the paragraph, maybe write a single paragraph. Then there appeared the agents. They can do some meaningful tasks. And today we are talking about system of agents, so another layer of agent that can call other agents. If your task is to let's take it to the kitchen. If you have guests and maybe before you initially you had something that could slice the bread, and then you had something that could slice the bread and put butter and cheese on it, and today you have something that can create different recipes, go to a supermarket, bring food, cook different meals, dishes, and put them onto a table.
All right. So is that like the autonomous agent that we hear?
Yeah, this is the trend. If you're looking at least in programming area, there are autonomous agents. It's not that you let's say 2 years ago you used the AI to write a single function and then maybe a couple of functions, and today you can just throw your idea and there is an agent that in a loop tries different functions, writes functions, deletes functions, tests functions, and eventually it comes up with a software that does what you wanted it to do.
All right. So allow me to do like a huge jump. We're not organized here. We're just keeping it interesting. So I've met you back then in the NFT and blockchain, one of those, ups and downs. And there's an entire space in blockchain that calls DAO. The idea of a disconnected, from humans, a few laws, if you want, that operate. We can take Bitcoin as the best and maybe only example out there of a few rules that a community can affect but not completely change. And by that, there's an ecosystem that is disconnected from humans, effect. And I wonder, because I led you to agree with me about the CEO AI later on, and obviously we already have the slicing the bread agent and preparing, the meal. How far is it before we're gonna see businesses completely A to Z AI? And is that something that you can see even in the near future in the blockchain? Because it allows, with a lot of regulation and stuff like that, maybe we wouldn't see it very soon in the mainstream, but maybe do you see a chance for AI DAO, completely AI companies out there?
You mentioned the word regulation, and I think this is the biggest difference. Let's take the Bitcoin example. Bitcoin is huge, and now it's huge, but if you look at the Bitcoin transactions, well, the fiat transactions still less than 0.01% of the... And there are people who can take this high-tech world and somehow combine it with regulation. I'm talking about Elon Musk is using, not Bitcoin, he's using stable coins, USDC, to get payments for Starlink, because it's much easier when you sell Starlinks in different countries. So I will divide my answer into two parts. First, for regular people, for most of the world, it will take a lot of time. Like, look at automotive cars. Most people say that if all cars are autonomous, it's easy to create them. But since practically it's almost impossible, you cannot immediately switch all the cars to autonomous. You can do it in some places like airports or small new cities. The whole process of switching to autonomous driving takes a lot of time. I think people 5 years ago said that in 5 years everything is autonomous. And in 5 years from now, it's not going to be fully autonomous. So in most companies, AI is not going to replace CEOs, but if you go to some niche areas, like maybe digital only, some games, some other digital niches, I do see like companies that are managed A to Z by AI and making decisions.
All right. So
there are AI trading systems, like you can think about trading mechanism that you buy some stock, sell some stock, and it's like a company.
So probably that we already have like companies.
Yeah, and that
completely.
I have a friend. His startup is building games. He started with doing prompt to game.
Interesting. We'll have its link in the description. Okay, so we're close to the end of this episode. I want to ask you something that personally it's interesting to me, and we probably keep on our conversation about it, and that's the personality of AI. And I wonder, as an AI expert, I've found myself talking with ChatGPT, and for a minute there, I forgot it's a computer, right? There's a lot of talking about the intimacy border that have been crossed. What is the effect that we might see on society, and what is the effect that we might see? There's even the space of the industry of relationship AI is booming. It's crazy.
Yeah, AI girlfriend, I think.
Yeah.
Biggest growing areas. Yeah.
So I don't know if we're recommending it as a new venture, but it's definitely mostly it seems 40 years old divorced men are the target audience. But we like 15 or 20 years ago, people laughed on people that dated using the internet. Well, you met her in the internet, she's probably a serial killer, man. So do you, as an AI expert, have any point of view on how difficult it's becoming to recognize that I'm talking in the comments with AI, I'm talking, in a dating app with an AI. What is the effect? Not, you're not a psychologist, but as a scientist, if you like, what do you see the effect on society, that barrier?
But this is where I'm less optimistic.
Finally.
When you look at I'll go to history and look at an industrial revolution. Before industrial revolution, most people had to be strong, right? If you're not strong, if you cannot do your work, and most of the jobs require some physical abilities. So I don't think that people went to the gym, right? If you go every morning to a field and you need to move cows, you always are moving, jumping, running. Today, some people are going to the gym. The other people are fat and lazy, and they have all the people call them modern diseases. And I'm afraid that our kids and kids of our kids, our grandkids, they will have the same issues with the writing abilities. No, it's much easier to write an email with ChatGPT. So for you, it's not a problem, because if I take ChatGPT away from you, you're still able to write. You have your 40 years of writing. But your kid, she will have problems, because now she's used to writing with ChatGPT. Like and I suppose that some people, like today, people go to a gym instead. They create some artificial challenges for themselves to develop muscles. And in the future, there will be people who will create those artificial challenges to develop emotional intelligence, writing abilities, and
right.
the rest of the population will will be fat and lazy and stupid.
That's a very good,
point.
very, very, very good ending point here. Michael, thank you very much for this episode. And
thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. And you have a course in Coolest.Marketing coming soon. And of course, we'll advertise when it's out. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.